Hi everyone, my name is Ronit Baras. I am the other half of the Whole Food Revolution team. I work with Nelum, Dr. Nelum, and we help people care for their health and well being by going back to basics and sticking to real food and making sure that we combine the emotional health and the physical health because we believe it is one. So I want to thank Tracy for giving me an opportunity to take part in something so important. And a lot of things in my life has changed because of personal stories, because someone told me something that changed the course of my life. And I think the first time, and I hope that this will be the same for you, that I will be that person for you, someone that shares personal experience and gives you hope that you can do exactly the same. And my first healthy experience, I was a very unhealthy kid, a lot of medications, doctors, and so on. And when I had my daughter, everything went really, really well. And when she was 1 year old, she had pneumonia. And she had very red, cheeky, like face, and she was breathing heavily. She had fever most of the time. And we were like very good new parents. We took her to the doctor, gave her antibiotics, and we tried the antibiotics and nothing changed, and then we gave her another one, and that went on for 6 months. And during that time, a friend of mine who was very advanced in her mindset regarding health and food and all those things, she said to me the whole time, she said, Ronit, don't give her antibiotics, it's not good for babies. How about you just try showers, hot showers and steam? I looked at her like, you're nuts. And then a personal story. Someone, a family friend that I knew, I saw her accidentally, and when I told her about it, I told her that it's just another antibiotics and so on, and she said, Renate, like, don't you know you can just take off the dairy, try that. And she told us that her son was born 600 grams. And in the premature unit, they told them avoid dairy because that creates mucus. And some babies, especially babies that are premature, they just don't have enough the capacity to take that mucus out, and it just basically sits there. And I said, like, oh, okay. Like, what do I have to lose? Just take off the dairy, which wasn't easy because that's what most kids ate when they were 1 year old. Um, and it was the first time I actually looked at the back of a packet, and I did exactly as she suggested, and within about maybe 1 week, fever disappeared, and then I think 10 days her cheeks were really, really good. Breathing was much better. Anyway, it was gone. It was totally gone. And and uh, she that happened 35 years ago. She's 36, and she's been a very, very healthy person since. It's like we've never seen doctors or anything. And it was the first time that I learned that someone's story it resonate better with me. And I remember that after that what happened, I called that cuckoo friend, and I said to her, I think I can listen to what you're saying now. And that actually made me very forgiving towards people that go through challenges, and someone says something and then they're just not ready. So I think there's a combination of us sharing our personal stories that I believe it's a gift that we give other people, and it also needs to be go along with where people at. If the ground is ready enough to absorb this thing. So I do wish I want to share with you a story, a personal story, and I wish that you everyone who's listening that the ground is um, is ready to absorb this thing. So, as you know, I had a daughter. She was 4.5. I was pregnant, and I moved with my husband and my daughter to live in Texas, US. And it was a really, really wonderful experience and something new, new life, new language. Everything was very new and it was very exciting. I was very looking forward to it. And my sister came to be with us just several days before I was supposed to give birth. And we went to the hospital. It was very exciting. Um, we tried regular delivery, didn't work. The doctor suggested go for a cesarean, and it was very late at night. He was born, and in the morning we had a wonderful time with him, and it was very exciting. And we took photos, and it was very, very exciting. And then around 4 o'clock, a woman came and she asked me questions about do we have any heart problems in the family. And I was like, bleh, bleh. I actually didn't know what she was saying, and I said I think my nephew had something, but you know, no, nothing serious. He's an adult and don't know anything about it. And she left and came back. And when she came back, my husband, my daughter, I remind you, she was about 5 years old at that stage, and my sister were in the room, and she said to us that our son has a heart problem, and that it was called hypoplastic left heart syndrome, and which meant that the left room didn't develop, and he can't really breathe. And then she said something about what are the options, and the options are finding a new heart and going through a heart transplant. I don't think I think by that stage he was like I don't know how many hours old, and not even 24 hours old. And she said that she doesn't think he'll survive till the morning. And it was like, whoa, everything turned black. And she left, told us that she thinks that we can only make things comfortable for him, but she doesn't think he will survive. And we've made a decision between us that that's it. We're not going to go to the baby's room and not going to get attached, because it might happen any minute that he's going to pass. And then my husband left, and my daughter and my sister, they left, and it didn't take long for me to have that feeling like no, it's not, it doesn't feel right. And I asked the nurse to bring me the baby, and I said I'm gonna be with him. I'm still his mom, and I'm gonna stay with him as long as I can. And I held him, and I talked to him this whole time, and told him I love him, and that I'm very sorry that I feel so helpless and I can't do much. And we were just sitting like this for hours, and then he felt he started crying, and was really restless. and I couldn't comfort him. So I took him early in the morning. I took him to the baby's room, and the nurse, she just, I think she gave him morphine, and basically said every time, she checked his heartbeat and until it slowed down, and it was very quiet and very peaceful, and I was with him to the end, and it was really, really, really hard. And obviously I've asked to leave home straight away because we had to take care of funeral stuff, and it was like, it was basically a nightmare. I was hoping to open my eyes and realize it was a bad dream. I was like, I so hoped it'll be a bad dream. It wasn't a bad dream. It was real, and and there was a small coffin, and we went after the coffin, and I was like, no, 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 no. That is my thoughts were like, no, it's not happening to me. And I was so upset. I was so upset with my body. I was when people talk about emotional pain as physical, I'm telling you, I know exactly what that means. It is actually physical. I felt physical pain. It's like when they say that it breaks your heart, it's like my heart was totally broken. I could feel it broken. It was painful. And I start going really, really dark. And it was very hard for me to lift myself up and say, okay, Renee, come on, just wake yourself up. And I did, actually did. I gathered every power I had within me and said, okay, let's just have a new story. Let's just come up with something new. And I got pregnant straight away. And when I mean straight away, I mean, I think I was pregnant. 2 months later, I was already pregnant. And again, I had a wonderful pregnancy. I have wonderful pregnancies. Lucky me, I don't go through all the throwing up and feeling, I don't know, all those things. I have wonderful pregnancies, and even I was so focused on eating healthy, and even my iron level didn't drop, and it was really, really wonderful pregnancy. And I was building in my head the new story, the new thing. And one morning, 32nd week of this pregnancy, I get up in the morning and I just don't feel any heartbeats. And I do all the usual bits, take a chocolate, shower, nothing. Don't feel anything. So I go to the doctor. She puts me on a monitor and says, no heartbeat. Um, she's gone. And I had to give birth to her. And again, asked to leave hospital to get home as soon as possible. Um, they checked. She didn't have any heart problem. Um, Apparently, there was a cord. The cord was very long, and I don't know. Probably something caused it to stop the flow in the umbilical cord, and so they couldn't find any reason for that. Just an accident, and I went home and I thought that my world collapsed big time. When the first thing happened, when the first loss happened, I thought to myself, like, there is There's an amount of misery that you can go through. There's an amount of pain that you can go through, and it's like you have your share, and I definitely had my share. And I was like, no, it's not going to happen twice. Like, what's the chance of it happening twice? And it was like, it was a big bang to my head to realize that there is no such a thing. That if you went through something tough and hard and painful, you don't get discounts. It's like, it doesn't work that way. It's not that someone sits there and does a distribution of pain. And yeah, if you had pain and then you were spared, wasn't. And I really, really, really wanted to, like, when people say I want to die again, I understand what they mean. It's like, I wanted to die. I didn't want to hurt myself, never thought of hurting myself, but I wanted to close my eyes and not feel anything because it was so hard to feel it. And I was like, I swear to you that I believed that everywhere I will go, there is a bleeding scar that everyone will see forever in my life. I realized that I would never be a person that hasn't lost a baby too. And it was like no going back. I was like, I couldn't go back. And no matter how much I tried going back, what if I did that? What if we checked that? What if I went a week before? What if I would give her birth when she was 30 weeks old? What if? And I went through this what if. And what if is a torture. It's a self torture. It's also the why me? What have I done? I honestly consider that a punishment. My body betrayed me. And I remember that I had a friend, she was a doctor, she was a GP, and when we moved to Texas, I would walk with her. We did walks in the mornings. And Kathy decided to have one child. She had one daughter, and she was very comfortable with that. She was herself an only daughter. And I remember that during that time I asked her, tell me, what do I need to do to feel so content with having one child? Maybe I'm not supposed to have another kid. Why is my heart craving for another child? Why am I doing this to myself? And because I could see Kathy was so okay with having one child, and I wasn't. And I felt so bad, and so many things in my life collapsed with that loss. Because I was convinced since I was 15 years old and I've changed my life. I was a very sick girl before, and then around the age of 15, basically my life totally changed. So when people said to you, oh, teenage is the toughest time of, no, actually it's the opposite. It was the best time. It's the time that I woke up and took control over my life. And I was convinced that the sun is shining over me. I honestly was convinced that everything I touch turns to gold. Everything happens to me. And that I manifest my life. And it was really, really good. I did amazing things. I felt like I was really lucky. And suddenly, whoa, darkness. Where is the sun? Over my head. And even my daughter, she was, we would go, let's say we would go to the shopping center, we would go out. Every baby she saw, she asked, Mom, when is he gonna die? I was like, Because we did say to her, when the first loss happened, we said to her, look, it was an accident, it's not going to happen again. It does happen, accidents happen, once in a, I don't know, I remember back then they said 1 to 20,000 or something. I was like, it's not going to happen again. And then it happened again. And then I didn't know what to say to her because I was honestly convinced it's not going to happen again. And I was so sad. I couldn't breathe. I keep imagining it. If I go there, I keep remembering the octopus that has hands all over me and I can't breathe. And I was going down, spiraling down and down. And one day, I was trying to do different things to lift myself up and so on. And it was temporary relief. And then one day, I looked on the fridge, and on my fridge I had photos of family members, and it was my way of keeping them close to me. And on one of the photos was a picture of my aunt, her husband and 2 children. And my auntie she was about 40 when she got married, and I think she had about 6 miscarriages before she gave birth to her son, and then 2 years later her other son. And I looked at her and I asked her in my mind, if you knew that this is what you need to go through in order to have your 2 children, would you be willing to go through it again? And her answer, which was obviously my answer because I did all of it in my head, was hell yes. And at that moment, I realized that I'm so trapped in time that if I go to Ronit in 10 years and I'll ask Ronit, if you have to go through another loss and another loss and another loss until you have the child in your head, hug this child in your hands and bring back the smile and happiness into your life, would you go through it again? And my answer was yes. Hell yes. And this is when I knew that if I get pregnant again, I know that if it won't work, I'll do it again. I'll do it again. At this moment, I can hardly imagine me ever saying, yes, I'm willing to go through this. But one day I will. And I held that in my head. And I remember the feeling of, wow, I know what I need to do now. I know how to get into a new pregnancy. And I think the greatest lesson for me was this understanding that me feeling helpless, out of control, was a temporary thought that I needed to let go of. What do I mean? This event in my life gave me an option. I had an option there. And the option was to be bitter about it or better as a result of it. And trust me, I was bitter big time. Do you know why? Because being bitter is the easy option. It's easy to be bitter when something like this happens to you. Why? Because when you're bitter, it's bathing in this bitterness, and it's blaming the world, and it's blaming my body, and it's blaming God, and it's blaming this thing, and it's blaming the doctor, which is like, it's a better, it feels like it is happening to me, like I'm not controlling anything in here. But I had a choice. I had a choice to take this opportunity and make myself a better person. I am a better person thanks to those two losses. Do you know why? Because I realized what really matters. I realized that my daughter that I had, I took her for granted. I realized that there's so many things that are precious in life. What do I bother myself with, you know, another equipment, or if my daughter is good at school or not good at school, or how much money it's like it becomes meaningless. It's almost like you have a problem if you're really, really putting all your energy into this bit. I knew I had a problem. We may not control what happened to us in life, but we can always control how to react to it. With everything that happens to us, we have a choice to be bitter or better. And I'm actually telling you that choose the better option. Again, bathing in bitterness, it seems the easiest option. But realizing that there are other options and you can choose. I felt so sorry for myself. I remember that. I was in hell. I went to those moments again and again, and I justified my pain with feeling so helpless and poor me. And I want you to know, being bitter does not change anything. I learned to take this opportunity and be a better person. I am a better person. I am now better to all the clients that I worked with. I want to tell you that hundreds of thousands of people that I worked with, they got a chunk from me thanks to my loss. Yes, I know when you're going through something hard, if someone ever comes to you and says, this incident is can give you the option of being a better version of yourself, it might be upsetting. I mean, I know that if someone would have said that to me, I'd be upset back then. I know it's true, and it's a choice. You know, a lot of people that go through illnesses, some of them become bitter about it. Oh, poor me. And some of them says, no. It's an opportunity. And I want you to know, all my life I worked with families, I worked with children. I now bring to my work with parents the section of them being kind to themselves. I wasn't kind to myself before. I wasn't. I was like, I was so focused on, how things looked from the outside, and look, it was fine. I loved every minute of it. I mean, I had a wonderful life. I had wonderful family. I had wonderful husband. I had wonderful daughter. Everything was fine, but I took it for granted. I didn't stay there in this gratitude and appreciation. Like, do you understand that since then, and that happened 32 years ago? I'm talking about a loss that happened 32 years ago. No day passes without me telling my children how much I appreciate them in my life, how grateful I am. There is no day in my life that passes without me dedicating and spending time to choose to be grateful for what I have. And I want you to understand, the past did not change. I did. My focus did. I am the person I am today thanks to that loss. Sometimes bad things will happen. It'll be out of our control. Complaining about it, being bitter about it, blaming someone about it is not going to give us the control back. Maybe the biggest lesson I had was that I cannot take time backwards. Cannot take time backwards. In my work, I always say, sometimes shit happens. Just happens, shit happens. But you can choose whether it's going to be smelly or you're going to compost it. You're going to make a compost out of it and use something good to grow on it. And that was the choice. So the bad things that are happening to me in life, I see them as learnings, as opportunities, as messages. It's almost like, it's not that it happened in order for me to learn it. It happened beyond my control, why things happen. And if you let go of the desire to know why it happened, and the reason we want to know why things happen is because we think that if we'll figure out what happened, we'll be able to prevent it. No. Do you know the second pregnancy, I went through very special ultrasounds to make sure she doesn't have any heart problem. It's a no guarantee. You do not have guarantees. Us looking for guarantees brings us so much suffering. Just look at it as, okay, something happened. It's very hard for me. What can I learn from it? How can I become a better person on the other side of it? And you have that choice. If you learn from this experience, great. And if we don't learn from them, they just keep happening in different versions again and again and again. If something bad happened to you and you decided to take something good out of it, first, it's not that bad anymore. And I want you to understand something that I've learned from that loss. Something is taken and you're giving something else. My children were taking from me. And I was giving a gift of appreciating what I have in life, of me helping other parents be kind to themselves. You know how many people that I work with, like honestly, they come to me and they when they go after the first session, they say, "Oh, I was expecting you to tell me off." I was like, "No, no, you tell yourself off too many times. You don't need to hear that. You need to find ways of controlling your own emotions." You're taking something, giving something else. If you focus on what was given, the incident becomes a gift. And one day, I believe one day, every person that was given that gift will feel like they need to share it with the rest of the world. I know I did. I know I did. And I think every person that goes through this breakthrough of conquering something that was really, really hard, they're given with that recovery, with that healing, they are given the gift of sharing it with other people. Do you know that in the Jewish mysticism, they say that for people to heal, they need to go and help people who experience the same experience that they went through. So in my situation, it was like, okay, you want to heal, you need to go and help other mums that are going through something like this. So I think even in a lot of traditions, every time you go through something really, really hard, you're losing something. And if you focus on what is given to you as an exchange, you'll be a better person. Just focus on what good comes out of the hurt. And seek and you shall find. And what you're doing when you're doing this thing, when you're doing this shift of mindset, you are choosing. You go back to feeling like you do have control again. And remember, I'm going to say it again. When you're reframing it, you are taking a pain and turning it into a gain. You have a choice. You're either a victim or a victor. And that's what I chose. I chose to come out of the other side stronger, a better version of myself. And you can do exactly the same thing. Just remember, we may not control what is happening to us in life, but we can always control how do we react to it. At any point, we have a choice to be bitter or better. And I recommend all of you to choose the better option. So thank you again to Tracy for allowing me to be here. I hope your ground was fertile to make a good use of my personal experience. This is Ronit, part of the Whole Food Revolution team, and I wish you a wonderful summit. Thank you.